Comments.
Welcome back to 12 Rounds.
Okay.
Oh, my
No,
bad.
that's yours.
I'm taking your show from you. Welcome back to Prison Yard TV. Today, I got somebody on here that I've been trying to get on here for I want to say a year. Everyone been asking for him. All the other COs I had on here, you guys keep asking, what about Sal from Sacramento? You're putting these New York correctional officers on here. Anyways, I got Sal Lopez, someone I grew up with, somebody, fortunately, that was with me. He was my counselor, actually, when I was in Folsom. You remember that?
I do.
Okay. So a lot of people was asking me to put you on here, and I got some questions. But I want you to introduce yourself and let everyone know how long you've been working in the corrections before you retired.
I worked almost 30 years in the Department of Corrections.
And you started out at Folsom, right?
Correct.
You started out when Folsom was Folsom.
Yeah, it was a tough place to work, and I worked at New Folsom too, and then I went back to Old Folsom and actually retired from there.
We're both retired. You just retired before me. Anyway, so yeah, I always knew Sal worked at Folsom, and I always went to prison, but I never got to go to Folsom. And I was like, before I retire my criminal behavior, I want to go to Folsom. And I had a 10-month violation, and I ran in. The first person I seen when I walked through R&R was him. He was walking in. I'm like, I thought he was a CO. He got a suit on, and he was a counselor. It so happens he was my counselor, and I was like, damn. And before nobody, not even my cellie, knew I knew him, because that's just in prison. He could get in trouble. He would have to over familiarize me and have me transferred to another prison. So I never told no one I knew him, but I always asked convicts, not inmates. I always ask convicts, hey, that counselor right there, is he cool? And I promise you, and I'm not saying this because I know him, everybody in my surrounding area, I'm from Sacramento, of course, said he was the coolest counselor and he was a cool CO back in the day. And I always wanted to know what kind of correction officer he was, because you get to different prisons, and I've known several, even family members were correction officers, and some of them were assholes, and he didn't have that reputation there. What year did you start working at Folsom?
In 1983.
Oh yeah. See, I didn't start going to prison until 89. So when I got there, it was still prison. I went to Gladiator School, Tracy, but 83 in Folsom, that was a level 4 back then.
It was.
Damn. And I remember someone asked me to ask you this. You was in the movie American Me.
I was.
I just watched it today before you came to make sure it was you. And you're in building 5 on the second tier, unlocking someone's door, right?
That's right.
I seen that. And it's a trip. I'm like, man, I know a movie star and a boxer.
So the first time you seen it?
No, I seen it before. My mom or Nick, somebody told me you was in it, and I kept looking through the whole movie, and I seen you, but it's beside you, and then you got that walk. You know, that Lopez walk. You and Tony got that walk. I'm like, that's Sal right there. So I always knew that. So how was it? How many people would you say, because Folsom's real close to where we live, how many people that was doing time in prison did you come across that you knew from the neighborhood or Sacramento?
There were probably at least a couple handfuls.
Yeah. And you never over familiarized yourself with them having shit down on.
No, it didn't even cross my mind.
That's crazy. Look, that's saying a lot about his character. A lot of COs, they get scared. They think they're going to get demoted or get penalized for knowing an inmate not writing a 128A. Is that what it is?
Correct.
I know all the lingo.
Yeah, there was a couple that actually 3 or 4 that I did write memos on, but
Because they was asking you to do something that you
no, I just because they knew my family, and I mean I knew them from the street, so
yeah,
and a little bit too well to not say so.
Yeah. So Folsom, you said you went to New Folsom, and I never told you this. I didn't tell you anything about this interview. I just asked you to sit in this chair, right? We ain't had no pre-interview or anything, right?
No.
He just got off of 12 rounds of adrenaline with his brother, and he brought up Ranzani. And I was in New Folsom. You probably didn't know that. And with the whole time I was there, we was on lockdown. I was there in 2000 and I want to say 13. Whole prison was on lockdown the whole time I was there. Crips, Bloods, Serendos, they all got into it. Some people got killed. Well, anyway, one day I'm sitting in my cell, and a familiar face comes by and knocks on my door to give me my mail. And I look at his name tag, and it's Pete. It's Ranzani. So I called him back. I'm like, hey, my show's like, wait, Joe call you. You know how you're not supposed to talk on level 40. And I'm like, hey man, you used to box. He was like, yeah. And the first thing that came out of his mouth is, you ever see my fight against Sugar Ray Leonard? And I'm like, no. I seen your fight at Memorial Auditorium though against Sal. He's like, oh, that's my buddy. Yeah. So you guys really worked in the same institution. And that's crazy to me how you was junior welterweight, right?
Yes.
146?
140.
140. That's crazy because I look at Pete now and he's bigger than me. And I look at him and I'm like, how does Sal fight this cat? This cat is humongous. But your fight weight is always, and you're probably at your fight weight a little bit over now, huh?
Oh no, I'm about 20 pounds over.
160?
Yeah.
But that's very light for being our age. So how did you and Pete, did he start working for the Department of Corrections before you?
No, I actually got him started in corrections.
Oh, you got him on?
Yeah.
So you guys stayed friends?
Yeah, like I said, all my opponents in the ring are my friends today.
That's tight.
Yeah.
I don't think your brother, all his opponents are his friends still. I think he still has a little bit of animosity, even the guys he beat up. So that's a good characteristic to have, man. What are you doing with your life now after?
After corrections, just raising my boys. I still have their 2 boys living at the house with the wife and I, and they're a handful. And I like staying. I work out. I meet friends at the coffee shop every day. I mean, we go out and have a beer or 2 sometimes. I don't know. I'm always engaged doing something.
Okay, I got some serious questions for you now.
Okay, I gotta go.
So this is Prison Yard TV. I'm an ex-convict. You're a correction officer. A lot of my viewers, every time I get on here, they ask me certain questions about corrections, convicts. They want to know something. So let me just give you a scenario. Okay, I got a cell phone, and you're not a counselor yet. I got a cell phone, and you kind of know who I am, and you're cool. Did you call the squad to come get me, or you come and tell me to put it up? What did Sal Lopez do?
I'm gonna have to report you.
You're gonna report. You're not gonna give me a heads up.
If you got a phone in the prison, when I was going there, yeah,
it's a big no because, and I want you to, and I knew that already. Any correction officer, that's what they're supposed to do. All of them don't though. Anyways, I want you to tell my viewers why it's so dangerous for a convict to have a cell phone.
Well, for multiple reasons. I mean, first of all, you could be planning something from the inside, talking to somebody on the outside. You could talk about, bringing drugs in, money in, escape plots, anything wrong or bad. You have the outside world to contact with.
Okay, got that. Prison Yard TV. That answered Malik's question. He asked me yesterday. He wanted somebody in California to verify that. I didn't want to answer that. I wanted someone official to answer that. Okay, next scenario. So, did you ever graduate? Did you go through from correction officer, CO to sergeant to lieutenant to counselor, or you went from CO to counselor?
I went from CO to counselor.
Oh, you never became sergeant?
No.
That question's out. Okay, so let me ask you this. So you've been there, say 15 years. You're already G status as a correction officer, right? And you get a female officer that just got on there. She's green. She don't know anything, right? And she comes to you and tells you cell 702 disrespected her. He was doing whatever, but he disrespected her in a sexual way. What does Sal do if she comes incompetent to ask you what is she supposed to do? What's your advice to her?
I would tell her to I'll go back, but we need to go back. Even if it required another officer or 2, maybe a sergeant, I don't know. And we'd go back and confront the inmate.
Confront him. What's confronting him?
Ask him why he did what he did.
Okay.
And basically, regardless of what he says, what the officer says
holds water.
That's right. So he's going to get handcuffed and taken to.
He's going to the hole.
He's going to the hole.
Okay. That verifies my last show. I was telling you guys, and he said the same thing I said. Now, have you ever been assaulted as a CO?
Yes.
You have?
Mhm.
Someone put their hands on you?
Or a couple times, yes.
What happened?
I'm going down the tier one time in one building.
The one building in Old Folsom, that's called the ghetto. It's the biggest building in Folsom, and everyone wants to get there because everything goes on there. It's very dangerous in one building.
Yeah, well, escorted an inmate down the tier. There was two of us. At that time, they didn't have him handcuffed like they do today. But he just turns around, and I guess I was on his the wrong side, and he landed a good right hand and right in my face.
And what happened?
I went down.
You went down?
I went down. Well, I was kind of off balance. He hit me pretty good. And I was, not expecting it. So I tripped over my feet and fell down. I mean, I got back up.
And you had a coworker with you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you went down. Of course, alarms were pushed. The squad comes up. All your assistant comes up. What happens to Jerome?
Jerome, well, he never did that again while I was there. Put it that way.
Did he get transferred out?
No.
He stayed?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Well,
let him
no. Well, he went to Ed for
probably a year.
quite a while.
Yeah. And so at this time, was it the 80s when this happened? Or was New Folsom still open? Was New Folsom open yet?
No.
Okay, so he couldn't have got transferred next door to New Folsom. So he learned his lesson. Okay, have you ever been with another comrade of yours, other officer, and they was assaulted in your presence?
Yes.
What happened to that individual?
To who? The inmate or?
The inmate that assaulted someone that was close to you, that was with you.
Well, there were different scenarios, so different things happened. So I recall the inmate, one particular one, probably the most violent one, but he didn't want to stop fighting.
I think I was there then. You talking about the big black guy that was in the cage that took off on the sergeant on the yard?
No, that was another incident.
Okay.
But yeah, he didn't. He wanted to fight everybody that confronted him. So he confronted like about 6, 7, 8 officers.
See, I was there then. He was from the Bay Area, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I was there then. And the word was he was up about 5 days in the cell off of that shit. And that was the word we got back why he did. You guys probably figured that out back then. But the reason why I'm asking you these questions is because there's a lot of other prison genre YouTube channels. And it seems like just because somebody starts a channel, they always talk about COs do this, COs do that. I was beat up by this CO. But my experience in prison, I've never been beat up by a CO but one time. And it was because you guys go back and look at the stories on my channel. He's not a friend of mine now, but we do talk. He got fired from Department of Corrections in DVI, but we still talk, and you guys can see that. But a lot of these prison genres talk about their brother was beat up in prison. He wasn't doing nothing. But if I was doing something wrong in prison and I got beat up for it by COs or my cellie or someone else, I'm not going to tell my mom or my wife I was doing something wrong. So my family's going to think that I was beat up for no reason by a CO, and that barely ever happens in prison, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, you come, you do your 8 hours, you want to go home. You don't want to do no paperwork. You didn't even want to do paperwork when you was a counselor when I was here. You're like, family visit. You only got 10-month violation. You don't need no family visit. And I remember that. So COs, I'm not saying every CO, and I know I'm going to get a lot of comments about this. You haven't hit the comment button because I can't see the comments. I see there's comments up there. Just tap that. There they go. Read them to us.
Never knew Sal was an American Me. And the building showing some love. Sweden and someone from Sweden.
Who is
Sweden.
that?
Yellow marshmallow.
Hey, yeah, he's
mushroom.
from Sweden. What's up, Yellow Marshmallow? Anyways, I wanted to interview him and ask him the hard questions because I get this conflict on my channel. People are like, dogs a cop lover, dogs is. I'm not none of that. What I am is I keep it real and authentic on my channel. I'm trying to keep it very authentic for you guys. I want you guys to hear my side and their side. I grew up with this man. I mean, I could go out with them and have a beer. I know several COs, females too. So I wanted to keep my channel authentic and bring Sal on here. Like I said, I've been trying to get him on here a year. He's looking at his watch. He got to be somewhere in a little bit. But Sal, tell my viewers, if you was, I'm going to say you're 58 years old. I know you're not. What would 58-year-old Sal tell 13-year-old Sal? What would you tell your younger self, knowing what you know now?
I'm not sad that I did the things I did in my past. I'm glad I went to, after high school, I went to college, graduated, went to corrections, retired. I mean, it was a great career. I have met many people. I don't think there was not too much that I would change.
Would you at 13, would you, if you knew what you knew now at 13, would you still get in the sport of boxing? Not knowing your career was going to end with that head, but with your eye getting messed up, like, because my opinion, this is my opinion, no disrespect to Tony. To me, I went to all his fights. I went to the majority of his, but to me, Sal was a better boxer than Tony. Tony was more of a brawler, like a fighter like Bobby Chacon. So I always thought Sal, he had finesse. He was like, I don't want to say his name because you don't like him. He was like a boxer that Tony beat back in the day. Sal used to clown in the ring, and I used to love that because he was fast and he used to box his opponents. I remember all your fights, Sal. But Tony, he was just coming at you head up. He wanted to fight. He didn't care the blood. None of that shit bothered him. But Sal was more of a finesser boxer. And I just went back and watched some of your fights recently. So would you tell the 13-year-old Sal, come on, man, let's do this. We're going to be the world champion at 13, knowing what you know now?
I personally wouldn't. I'm not going to discourage anybody from getting into the sport of boxing. I love boxing. Would I have my son get into it? Probably not, because the fact of the matter is that it's not a good thing to be getting hit upside your head too many times.
Yeah.
And I've seen fighters. I mean, they pay the price for that, and to me, that's not worth it.
And I asked that for a reason because I have two sons, two daughters, and my youngest son, he started training over there at Gabriel. Hit that name. He started training, and he's already in his 20s. I'm like, if you would have said you wanted to box at 10, 11, it'd be cool. And I don't want him to be beaten up and stuff. I got a film of him boxing. He's pretty talented, but it's just I don't even suggest he gets in the UFC, man. I want him to be, that's why I asked you that question. And it's difficult for your kids, especially your dad was a boxer. And I remember your dad. Your dad was very strict with you guys. I remember you used to come home from college and go run. I remember all that stuff growing up. And
well, I will say that I wouldn't discourage any kid from getting into boxing because I do think it's a great sport. You'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot about yourself, and it'll push you to the next step to as far as you learn how to defend yourself. You learn how to
discipline,
guts, glory. I mean, you'll learn a lot.
So would you say, because I heard your brother say this a lot lately since we started his podcast, boxing now in 2023 compared to say 85, it's watered down now. Even I heard you say it on the other show, they get hit once or twice, you don't see them for 2 weeks. And it's like, I don't see how these cats growing up, are in the boxing. Everyone is focused now on UFC because to me, I watched a few fights in the last 2 years and I'm like, that dude clearly won this fight. But your brother put me up on something. He's like, you're watching it on TV. You're not watching it from a judge's point of view. A judge's point of view, he's at ringside. He's seeing what he sees. We see everything watching on TV. So judges make mistakes. But to me, I'm like, man, these judges, this dude clearly beat the shit out of this dude the whole fight. This dude won the last round. They're going to give him the fight. So to me, I don't want to say boxing is fixed. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is UFC, to me, is a little bit more exciting. It's maybe because it's all around, mixed martial arts. But I always been a boxing fan all my life. I can tell you statistics back to Sugar Ray Leonard and Hearns and all that because I studied you guys growing up because I like to fight like you guys in high school and junior high school. And I was like, damn, Tony's going to be a world champ when he fought Lockridge, and it happened. And I was the proudest dude in the neighborhood over that. But to me, boxing in 2023, Sal, it's not the same when you was in it, man. It's watered down to me. These guys are getting $20 million to go in there and dance around, and they're none of them are getting hit as hard as you guys were. I just watched Tank and Ryan Garcia fight, and I'm like, if I'd have paid $3,000 to be up in the nosebleed seats and watch this, I'd have been mad at that fight. 7th round KO from the body. It didn't look like it hurt that bad. What do you think about that?
You got to get hit in the body.
I have.
After you've been 7 rounds, tough rounds with a world class fighter.
You think that was real? He got knocked out with that?
Who knows? But the fact of the matter is that when you're engaged in a combat sport like that, and especially after going 7 rounds, and you get hit to the body, it could do that damage and even more.
Really?
You're sitting down in your home watching the fight with a beer in your hand, and it's hard to fathom that you could get knocked out from a punch like that to the body. Trust me, you can't. Matter of fact, getting hit to the body sometimes could be more damaging than getting hit elsewhere in the body, because you'll lose your breath. You can't breathe. You got pain. You're gonna fall.
Did you hear that? I guess I'm wrong. Because I did a show about that, and it's like I had to rewind that fight like 3 times to even see the punch. It was like it was a tap, but then I started watching the tabloids, and they was like he was already hurt in that spot, and Tank was notified he was. I'm not speculating, and I'm not spreading rumors. It's all over YouTube that Tank knew that Ryan Garcia was hurt from his training camp, and he even said it himself. And if you know someone's hurt, of course you're going to take advantage of that in a title fight. You know what I mean? If I know you're hurt and I'm fighting you for the title, I'm gonna take advantage of it. If I heard you was hurt in that spot, and I think that's probably what happened, man. But man, Sal, I appreciate this interview. It means a lot to me. I've been trying to get you on here. He don't read Facebook, you guys. I've been messaging him from Facebook for a year, and he don't answer me. But anyways, I appreciate it, man. And I really am honored to be sitting here next to you asking these questions. I know when I get off here, I'm gonna have 100 questions on there. Why didn't you ask him this? Why didn't you ask me that? You should have been on here asking your own questions. That's what you should have been doing. I see the questions, but our screen ain't that big, so I can't see them all. So anyway, Sal, I appreciate it. If you want to tell my viewers anything, you can tell them in closing. I want you guys to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and tune in to 12 Rounds of Adrenaline every Sunday. We change our date to every Sunday. So tune in, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and that notification button, and we'll check you guys out next Sunday on 12 Rounds of Adrenaline. Hit it one more time. Down below, hit it, and then down below. You guys are still live. Man.
Okay, I stopped.